From a colossal ship, carrying 4,300 cars, capsizing just 23 minutes after departure, to a nuclear test in the Pacific Ocean gone terribly wrong, a chemical factory in Nevada erupting into flames after a fire outbreak, and an oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico labeled as the worst environmental disaster ever. Here are 10 of history's most expensive mistakes. Number 10. The Golden Ray Disaster. The MV Golden Ray, a car carrier measuring 660 feet in length and 116 feet in width, with a capacity of 71,000 gross tonnage, set off from South Korea's Hyundai dockyard. This vessel was powered by a single diesel engine and had 24 fuel tanks, each capable of holding 300,000 gallons. It had the ability to transport 7,400 cars worldwide at a speed of 22 miles per hour. On a September night in 2019, the Golden Ray departed from the port of Brunswick, Georgia, making its way to the port of Baltimore with 4,300 cars intended for the Middle East. Tragically, only 23 minutes into the journey, the ship inexplicably capsized and became stranded in the shallow waters of St. Simon Sound. Thankfully, all 23 crew members, as well as the captain, escaped unharmed. The ship's fuel tanks, filled to capacity, and the 4,300 cars on board, containing diesel and antifreeze, raised serious environmental concerns. By the end of September, fuel removal efforts had begun, but only 2 tanks were successfully emptied. The daunting task at hand was to salvage the stranded ship, which seemed almost impossible. Extensive fire and water damage made the Golden Ray a total loss, resulting in an $80 million loss, in addition to the immense costs of the salvage operation. Finally, on September 26, 2021, the entire ship was removed after being divided into 6 sections. The area surrounding the ship also saw the recovery of approximately 20,000 pounds of debris. The comprehensive salvage operation is estimated to have cost around $840 million. The official report attributed the Golden Ray's capsizing to various factors, including incorrect data input during the ship's stability calculations, a costly mistake. Number 9. The Pepcon chemical plant explosion. Beyond Las Vegas, Henderson, Nevada, is the second largest city in the state, once known for its high magnesium supply during World War II. But a massive chemical fire in 1988 put Henderson on the map for a very different reason. Enter the Pacific Engineering and Production Company of Nevada, also known as Pepcon, and their massive chemical plant located 10 miles south of Las Vegas. At the time, they were one of 2 American companies producing ammonium perchlorate, AP, a chemical used in rocket boosters, the same kind used on the Space Shuttle. On May 4, 1988, a fire broke out at the factory and ultimately resulted in a massive explosion. A cameraman stationed at a safe distance captured the moment of the blast. Shortly after, a second explosion sent another shockwave across the ground, this one even larger than the first. Both explosions obliterated the Pepcon plant and a marshmallow manufacturing facility in the vicinity. They destroyed cars, downed power lines, and damaged other buildings within a 1.5-mile radius. Tragically, 2 people lost their lives in the disaster, and over 300 others were injured. Fortunately, no one in the recording was harmed. In total, the fire caused over $100 million in damages, all because a stray spark from a blowtorch ignited some fiberglass. Number 8. The Champlain Tower's South Collapse. Surfside, Florida, is a small town in Miami-Dade County, home to about 5,600 residents and several multi-story condominiums near Surfside Beach. Most people had never heard of Surfside until June 24, 2021, when one of the condominium complexes, Champlain Towers South, collapsed unexpectedly. Champlain Towers South was built in 1981 as the first building in a 3-tower condominium complex. The North Tower was completed in 1982, and the East Tower followed in 1994. All 3 buildings were L-shaped, with the South Tower containing 136 condos and a penthouse suite on the roof. At 1:14 a.m., while most residents were asleep, the pool deck on the South Tower collapsed, followed by the entire western wing 8 minutes later. Tragically, 98 people lost their lives in the collapse, but rescue workers were able to pull 126 others from the rubble. Flawed designs in the building's construction plans may have contributed to the collapse. Meanwhile, the Miami Herald attributed the collapse to standing water, cracking concrete, and corroded rebar in the building's pool equipment room. Several other sources pointed to corruption during the building process. A year after the collapse, Judge Michael Hansman approved a $1.02 billion settlement for the families of the victims and those injured in the catastrophe. Number 7. The 3 Mile Island Meltdown. When we think of nuclear disasters, Chernobyl and Fukushima usually come to mind. However, before these events became well known, a nuclear reactor in Pennsylvania experienced a meltdown in 1979. This incident took place at the 3 Mile Island Nuclear Generating Station, situated in Londonderry Township, Pennsylvania. This small town, home to only a few thousand people, is located along the Susquehanna River. 3 Mile Island is a 3-mile-long island in the middle of the river, housing a 3-reactor nuclear power plant that was constructed in 1968. The plant began operations in 1978 when the second of 3 reactors started generating electricity. Around 4 a.m. on March 28, 1979, a mechanical failure caused a chain reaction and led to the partial meltdown of Reactor 2. The cooling water pumps, designed inefficiently, malfunctioned. Compounded by the use of the same alarm sounds for different emergencies, chaos ensued. Due to the accident, radioactive gases were released into the surrounding community, and a massive steam geyser erupted from the top of the plant. Fortunately, no injuries were reported, and no health problems have been linked to this incident. The cleanup process took 12 years and cost over $1 billion. As of 2022, the total cleanup expenses reached $2 billion. Interestingly, a movie called The China Syndrome, starring Jane Fonda, was released 2 weeks before the 3 Mile Island meltdown. The film depicted a fictional meltdown near Los Angeles. At the time, the nuclear industry disregarded the movie as unrealistic. Number 6. The Columbia Space Shuttle Tragedy. In January 2018, more than 500 individuals from 37 countries have traveled to space. The majority are Americans and Russians, followed by a few Chinese astronauts and individuals from other countries. However, space travel comes with risks and can be unsafe. One memorable incident is the Challenger disaster of 1986, when the space shuttle exploded shortly after liftoff. Another equally devastating event occurred in 2003. On February 1st of that year, the Space Shuttle Columbia, with 7 crew members on board, was returning to Earth. Tragically, it disintegrated and burst into flames upon re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere. An investigation revealed that a large piece of insulating foam had fallen off the external tank and struck the left wing shortly after Columbia's launch. Shockingly, this wasn't the first time such an incident had occurred. NASA had reported previous missions experiencing foam detachment and resulting in varying degrees of damage, some potentially catastrophic. Despite being aware of this issue, NASA faced significant criticism for ignoring it. As Columbia re-entered the Earth's atmosphere after spending 16 days in space, the damaged wing allowed hot gases to breach the heat shield, ultimately causing the internal wing structure to be destroyed. Consequently, the space shuttle became unstable and disintegrated. The investigation and cleanup incurred a cost of $400 million for the government. Furthermore, the destruction of the shuttle itself amounted to $2 billion. On that day, President Bush appeared on television and solemnly stated, "This day has delivered terrible news. Mission Control in Houston lost contact with our Space Shuttle Columbia. The shuttle is lost, and there are no survivors." Number 5. The Beirut Explosion. The port of Beirut is one of the largest and busiest ports in the eastern Mediterranean, located on the eastern bank of St. George Bay in Lebanon. It was responsible for 60% of the country's imports. However, everything changed on August 4, 2020. To fully understand what happened, we must go back to September 2013 when a cargo ship carrying 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate, a chemical compound used in fertilizers, was detained in Beirut. The Lebanese government seized the ship and its cargo because it couldn't pay the Suez Canal toll. The ammonium nitrate was moved to a warehouse on the dock, where it sat collecting dust until 2020. Then, someone thought it was a good idea to store a batch of fireworks next to these highly explosive chemicals. When a fire broke out in the warehouse, it set off a ticking time bomb. A crew of firefighters arrived to fight the blaze, and reports started hearing a strange sound. At around 6 p.m., one of 2 explosions sent a large cloud of smoke into the sky, damaging the entire warehouse. While the first explosion was like 2 tons of TNT, it was only the beginning. 30 seconds later, a second explosion literally shook the entire country. The explosion was equivalent to between 1,000 and 1,500 tons of TNT. The blast claimed 218 lives and caused about $15 billion in property damage. Number 4. The Suez Canal blockage. The Suez Canal is of utmost importance for global trade, connecting the Middle East, Asia, and Europe. Approximately 7 to 10% of the world's oil, equal to about 1 million barrels per day, passes through it annually. When the Ever Given, a massive container ship measuring 1,300 feet, got stuck in the canal for 6 days, international trade came to a halt. Experts estimated that every hour the ship remained stuck, $400 million worth of goods were delayed. Moreover, each day it remained stuck disrupted an additional $9 billion worth of goods. On March 23, the Ever Given was caught in a sandstorm while passing through the Suez Canal. Strong winds, reaching 46 miles per hour, took control of the ship, causing it to run aground and block the canal on both ends. As part of a convoy of 21 ships traveling from Malaysia to the Netherlands, the Ever Given was the 5th vessel to pass through the canal, resulting in 15 others being stuck behind it. It took 6 days to free the ship, but the impact on the global supply chain lasted for months. This incident triggered a reassessment of global supply lines, particularly our reliance on just-in-time manufacturing. The owners and insurers of the Ever Given had to pay $550 million to the Egyptian Suez Canal Authority as a settlement. Number 3. The Deepwater Horizon oil spill. Oil still makes the world go round, and with it comes significant profits for companies willing to invest in extraction. History is filled with examples of drilling gone wrong, but none have been quite as disastrous as the Deepwater Horizon in 2010. About 41 miles off the coast of Louisiana, the oil drilling rig Deepwater Horizon was exploring a new prospect when a blowout occurred. A large pocket of methane gas rushed up through the underground well, causing an explosion and fire on the rig. A massive rescue effort was launched to evacuate the crew members on board. 94 of them were airlifted to safety, but tragically, 11 were never found and are presumed to have died in the explosion. The Deepwater Horizon burned for over a day before sinking on April 22, 2010. Subsequently, approximately 38,000 barrels of oil spilled into the sea every day for 87 days, resulting in over 210 million gallons of spilled oil. By July, the well was finally capped. Cleanup costs, charges, and penalties had cost BP more than $65 billion by 2018. The Deepwater Horizon oil spill is considered one of the largest environmental disasters in world history. Number 2. The Castle Bravo nuclear test. In the 1950s, the United States conducted a series of nuclear tests, and one of the most significant events during this period was the Castle Bravo test on March 1, 1954, at Bikini Atoll as part of Operation Castle. Initially projected to yield 6 megatons, the bomb's unforeseen reaction involving lithium-7 resulted in a staggering 15-megaton explosion, far surpassing expectations. The aftermath of Castle Bravo had devastating consequences. The detonation released a massive amount of fallout, primarily in the form of pulverized coral, which descended upon the residents of Utrik and Rongelap atolls over a 3-day period. Despite efforts to evacuate the affected islands, the fallout led to widespread radiation sickness, impacting hundreds. To address the widespread damage, the United States Department of Energy allocated approximately $604 million in compensation to the affected atolls and communities. Adjusted for inflation, this compensation exceeded $1 billion, underscoring the severity and enduring impact of the Castle Bravo nuclear test on both local and global scales. Number 1. The Chernobyl nuclear disaster. Nuclear power, once celebrated for its promise of clean energy, faced a devastating setback in the spring of 1986 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. A safety test for reactor number 4, meant to simulate a power failure, went awry due to incompetence, flawed structures, and a critical design flaw. Within a minute of initiation, power levels dropped irreversibly, triggering an uncontrollable nuclear reaction. Desperate attempts to shut down the reactor resulted in a cataclysmic explosion, exposing the reactor core and causing a colossal steam explosion that released radioactive contaminants. The fire, spewing radiation for days, reached neighboring countries, initially concealed by the Soviet Union until detected in Sweden. The economic toll of Chernobyl is estimated at $235 billion, marking it as humanity's costliest mistake. The region remains uninhabitable, concealed beneath a 100-year lifespan containment dome, with projections indicating it will be unsafe for human habitation for over 20,000 years. With that said, I'll see you later.